this is my research methods video presentation. I will be going over several different areas of research and how it applies to a case study, lateral office, and how I've taken that work and extrapolated it into my own thoughts and ideas regarding research. Starting with discourse, lateral office has been looking at the Arctic Food Network, how the local population deals with their food, and how that relates to the global population outside of the Arctic. And what they've discovered is that resources such as food and minerals and such is being taken out of the Arctic, but nothing's really going back in. There is a lack of these resources helping the Inuit people. So what they are proposing is an influx of technology into the Arctic, which will lead to an increase for both the globe and for the Arctic in technology, and a symbiotic relationship will develop. And the discourse is, how does the global and local relationship relate to infrastructural improvements? I took that research and decided to look into the effects of introducing technology into a closed system, for the most part, the Inuit, and seeing how that affects their culture. Is it good? Is it bad? Does it change from the Inuit from who they are into a different people, or do they belong to are they the same people? And if any global so-called interference is to happen, should it happen slowly, rapidly, and what type of influence should it have over economic, infrastructural, or all of the above? And I've come to the conclusion through my research on this discourse that the Inuit people will keep their culture, they will remain who they are, but they will be improved through the local-global relationship. So the discourse relies on the concept of how healthy culturally is infrastructural and technological improvement. Going on to methods, lateral office looked at the traditional ways of Inuit food gathering, which is a kind of a specific idea regarding this area. And because of that, the methods of research have to be local. They have to be in touch with what's going on the ground. As such, areas such as demographics are going to help the lateral office understand the size, age, location of the people. Local interviews with regionals will allow for a more intimate knowledge of the traditional food practices. And local economic data helps us understand what is coming out of the area, which gives us more information what is in the area to begin with. And through this information, they were able to understand that the population is growing rapidly, over 100,000 people for the first time in history, how traditional shelters function, and how the hunting and fishing cycles that these people work on impact their health. And through that, they're able to create a series of structures that relate to this research. So these methods led to that. So I took this data, and while lateral office focused on food gathering, it didn't make sense if there's no transportation for such food to store it. So I decided to look at the snowmobile as a method of transportation in the region. Now, the methods needed to research this are not local, but more technical. Historical archives could be used to understand laws regarding the use of snowmobiles, patents, and such. Technical specifications specific to models of snowmobiles allow for a better understanding of how they might function in an Arctic environment, what models would be best for the region. And books and essays are able to give a better idea of what has happened in the past regarding the use of snowmobiles over the use of sled dogs. And from what I found, lower registration fees compared to normal vehicles allow for snowmobiles to be very cost effective. They're able to go through different levels of snow, which increases their range and usability, and the increased distances allow for further outposts to be created, and thus villages to eventually form from these outposts. And with that, it has become more apparent to me through this research that other means of transportation could also work that need to be explored. The introduction of the snowmobile was important for the expansion of the Inuit people, thus other means of transportation should be looked into. Finally, we come over to purpose. Latra Office looked at 3 different things within the context of the Arctic to understand how the food storage might work. And that is specifically with the program of food storage, the population growth of the area, and the local climate. With food storage, the program, different shapes, angles, sizes of the structures they are creating need to be adjusted so that they fit within a framework that is functional, that is efficient. So looking at the inverse of the figure ground area would be able to allow us to see what works best, essentially. And this placement allows the system to be implemented to its highest efficiency. The demographics give us an idea of how young the population is and where they might go based on historical records regarding village and city expansions, branch-offs, and divergence. And this is able to allow an idea of path networks that might form in the Arctic that could give an idea of where future cities might need to be built to be most successful. And then finally, the climate data, through studying the local climate, is able to allow Lateral Office an idea of how to design the building to be most efficient for food storage, such as greenhouses that they will be creating using the local climate data and the sun patterns to create a solar skin on the structures that will allow for greater food capacity. And that brought me back to the context of the snowmobile, where I thought of community use, infrastructural quality, and economic feasibility. With community use, looking at case studies such as the Munksagard Eco-Village would allow for an idea of how to arrange community use stuff such as a snowmobile storage area to compare different case studies to see what would work best in the Arctic. And I've come to the conclusion that a centralized location would be most optimal. Infrastructure quality, looking at how the local roads are affected, what the processes are that destroy roads, such as water and ice expansion, and how snowmobile paths could be more integrated into the area based on their level of builtness and layers to improve the structural quality of the road. And finally, the economic feasibility, how an influx of snowmobiles will require an influx of money, how this can go about through possibly government spending, which would create a cycle where improvements in the number of snowmobiles will improve the economic feasibility of the region, which will allow more snowmobiles, which increases the economics of the region. And that is my ideas on research based on the case study of Lateral Office and what I have learned through the readings. Thank you.